All right, we're going to get started. We don't have any entries in the meat division for single fryer pen, so we're going to get started with our crossbreed. We're going to bring both exhibitors in the crossbreed class up, and she'll judge them, and then we'll select overall at the same time. So if Lauren DeGroat with her crossbreed B1 tattoo wants to come up to the table with your junior buck. And then Baby Roach with your crossbreed D1. And our partition survived, our table survived the flood, but a couple of the partitions didn't. So unfortunately we might have to share a little bit in here. We actually will start, I think in the program we have the bucks first. So our buck is actually down here. We have a blue buck, and he is a cross between a mini Rex and a mini satin. And our little buck is actually going to get a red today. His toenails are white and they need to be dark. So he's actually going to get the red ribbon. And then we have a little doe down here who's also a crossbred between the mini Rex and a mini satin. She's going to get a blue, and she will also be our champion crossbred. So congratulations, girls.
Receiving champion is Faye Rowe, reserved for red ribbon for Lauren DeGroat. Let's give those kids a round of applause. Next up will be our commercial graduates. We'll start with our class 6 of junior bucks, 0 to 6 months of age. We have Maya Schumeyer of the Rock River Eagles and Faith Grote of the Rock River Eagles. Maya is tattooed in 25 and Faith is 8. Junior bucks, 0 to 6 months.
We are starting our commercial grades, so they're junior bucks, and we're gonna start at, we're gonna go back, so we're gonna start at 2 and work our way up to number 1. So we're gonna start with our second place buck, or our reserve in class, is going to be our French lab. They're both about 1 month old, is what I'm being told by the exhibitors. Our French lab he has a good start. He's got good mass, he's got a good crown, he's got good head, he's got a very good width between his eyes. I like the width at his muzzle. I just would like him to have a little bit less in the shoulder and a little bit, he's just a little bit longer in the shoulder and a little bit quicker eyes, so a little bit more depth to him. Anyways, he's got a good start. And then we have our Flemish. Our Flemish is going to win the class. He has just a little better body type. He's a little bit, they're actually both of them, their fur just isn't prime condition. It's not prime condition for a time when it's so hot and humid out. So we're not going to take points away from either one for them, and for either breed, there's not a lot of points on her. But just he has a better body type. I would like him to have just a little bit more. He's a semi-arch breed, but I would like him to have just a little bit better of an arch. But he has nice length of body, he has nice width over the top, with the red boy, and his full to the base of the table. So, congratulations.
Receiving champion in that class, Maya Schurmeyer. Reserve going to Peggy Burke. At the table now, we have Class 7 Intermediate Bucks, Ethan Hoogenberg of the Central Lyon FFA with a satin tattoo eagle.
Just had a single entry for our intermediate bucks, satin grade. He is a nice satin. He's got good head, good ears. He has nice short shoulders, good depth of body. I'd like him to have just a little bit more depth and fullness over the top of that leg. He's nice and full to the table. He has nice density to his fur, and for the weather and summertime, he's got fairly good finishes for today.
Receiving a blue ribbon is Ethan Hoogenberg. If you're wondering about our ribbon system, if there's only one in the class, the highest they can get is a blue, but they'll come back for the overall commercial. Next up, we have Class 8. Let's give Ethan a round of applause. Next up, we have Class 8 Senior Bucks over 8 months of age. Chloe Schurmeyer of the Rock River Eagles, Lauren DeGroat of the Rock River Eagles, Dylan Mulder of the Elgin Stars, and Cameron Mulder of the Elgin Stars.
want him to be at least 13 pounds. And this guy only weighs 10.5 pounds. So he's gonna get a red ribbon today. He does have really good body type. I would like him to have a little bit better of an arch, but he does have good length to his body. He has a fairly good top point, has a full loin, and he's wide to the base of the table. Just needs a little bit better flesh condition. And then our third place is going to be over here, right here. I love the head and the ears. I love his head and ears. First third of the body is very good. The last 2/3, he just tends to flatten out a little bit. He doesn't have quite as much depth. So when we talk about depth, that's from the shoulders to the top of the rabbit. How much of a rise do we have? And this little guy here just doesn't have a whole lot. He's just a little flatter. And then he does have a fairly good top line and hindquarters right here. But then at the hindquarters, he's really narrow and he doesn't carry that width from the top all the way to the base of the table. Our second place is going to be right here. He does have more depth, but he lacks the width at the top of the loin that the third place rabbit has. However, he does have that depth. He's got that, he carries that depth a little bit better. He's got a better rise off that shoulders, and he's got better width at the base of the table. In our first place is going to be our French lap. I really would like him to have more width between his eyes and with his muzzle. He does have a very nice crown, and I was talking with him for nature, and I said, does this happen to be the dad to the junior? And she said yes, and I said, I can tell by the shoulders. He does too have just a little bit of a longer shoulder than I like, but he has a good, very good bone. He's got very good width over the top of the loin, and he carries that width to the base of the table. So when we look at the points for the individual rabbits, your French lap is your best in this class.
Let's give these kids a round of applause. Receiving champion in that class, Lauren DeGroat, reserve, going to Dylan Muller. A blue ribbon for Kylie Shermeyer and a red ribbon for Dylan Muller. Next up will be a class 9 junior does. We have Lauren DeGroat with 2, A3 and A1, and Faye DeGroat with A2. Junior does 0 to 6 months of age.
class of junior does here. They are all very, very similar. There's just a little tiny differences between them. We're gonna start out, I better just keep going away. So this is gonna be our third place toe. She, according to, compared to the top two, she just doesn't have as much width at the base of her muzzle. She does have pretty good width between her eyes. A little bit slipped in her crown. Where she's lacking also is she doesn't have as much width at the base of the table. She's just more narrow in the hindquarters. And when we get to our second place though, it's very close between these two top, and I actually like the head and the crown better. On the second place though, she has a very nice head, very nice crown. I really like her head and crown very much. But she just doesn't have quite as much of depth of body. She lacks a little bit of depth of body to the first place doe. She doesn't have quite as much fullness over the top of that loin, and she doesn't carry that width to the base of the table as well as the first place doe does. First place doe, I would like to have her have a little bit more width between the eyes and at the base of the muzzle, which is very good, nice short shoulders with width over the top of the loin, and she carries that fullness to the base of the table. So these top two, somebody else might change their placings, but I do like both of those two very well.
Let's give these girls a round of applause. Receiving champion in this class is L'Oreal DeGroat with her A1. Reserve going to Faye DeGroat, and a blue ribbon for Lauren's second French hop. We're going to bring bunny hopping next year. It's actually a thing. Next up, we're going to bring up our intermediate does, Chloe Schermeyer with the Rock River Eagles with her New Zealand FNZ24. Let's give Chloe a round of applause for that blue ribbon. Next, we'll have our last class of commercial rabbits, senior does over 8 months of age. We have Lauren DeGroat with tattoo CTM1, Ethan Pugador with a Saturn 4163D, and Cameron Mulder with tattoo RZ09, and Madeline Mulder with tattoo NA02.
We have our senior doe class, and we have a class of 4. Our 4th place is going to be the French lap. She's got a good head, she's got good ears, she's got good width in her muzzle, she's got good width between her eyes, she's got a nice crown, she's got a good, nice, big full body, she's got good gold, she's got some eye dryness, she's got an eye infection going on right now, so she's going to be 4th place in a red ribbon. Our 3rd place is going to be our Flemish giant. She actually is one of the ones in the class that has the most molting going on right now, and usually I say I'm not going to penalize for that, but when everybody else isn't going through, that is kind of a decision. So she also is underweight as well. She's 12 pounds and she should be 14 pounds. She is good length of body, but she's just a little bit flat. She is a little bit more of an arch. And to go with that body, she's got good width over the top line, and she's got good width at the hindquarters. Our 2nd place doe, New Zealand. She's got a nice head, nice ears. She's just a little bit flatter in body type than our class winner. She's got good fullness over the top of the loin, and she carries that with the base of the table. And then our 1st place, rabbit, has good head, good ears, very nice, compact, full hindquarters, carries that width to the base of the table very well. Very nice density to the coat, and very nice flush condition, and the coat is finished today.
Receiving champion in that class, Ethan Hugendorn, reserve, going to Cameron Mulder. A blue ribbon for Madeline Mulder and a red ribbon for Lauren DeGroat. Let's give these kids a round of applause. Next, we'll be bringing up our class champions from all of the classes from commercial. We're going to go backwards here. For class 11, we have Ethan Hugendorn. Class 10, we have Chloe Schermeyer. Class 9, Lauren DeGroat, the one at the end. If you're following along in the program, our first rabbit here is our junior buck, Maya Schermeyer. Our second rabbit is Ethan Hugendorn. From class 8, we have Lauren DeGroat. Class 9, Lauren DeGroat. Class 10, Kylie Schermeyer. And class 11, Ethan Hugendorn.
And our reserve champion commercial rabbit is going to be our intermediate doe. Congratulations.
Receiving champion in that class, or that division, Ethan Higginborn, and reserve going to Chloe Sherman. Let's give all those commercial exhibitors a big round of applause. Just a reminder, commercial exhibitors, Ethan and Chloe will need you to stay back with those two rabbits for the overall selection. Other commercial rabbits can make their way back to the barn if you want to meet your parents at the gate. You can keep back your showmanship rabbit if you haven't done showmanship yet. So, everybody give me a thumbs up. All right, let's start our fancy division with our junior bucks. Class 12 junior bucks, 0 to 6 months of age. Maya Schermeyer with a mini Rex MR25, and Lydia Zalstra with a mini lot 7, tattoo 7. I say the tattoo to help the kids so they won't. Just a reminder, our 4-H food stand is in the back corner of the show arena. They have cold drinks, snow cones, baked cookies, freshly baked cookies, and other items.
In our core class, or our fancy class, or junior bucks, where second place is going to be our mini lot. He has a good head and ear, just doesn't quite have the maturity that the mini Rex does today. Not quite as good width between the eyes, lacks a little bit of width in the muzzle, has decent crown placement. He is nice and short with the shoulders, has good depth of body. Just is still maturing, lacks that muscle mass over the top of that hindquarters of the top of the loin, and carries that fullness fairly well to the base of the table. Our first place buck is going to be the little black mini Rex. Has a fairly decent head, just a little bit snaky about his muzzle. His ears are very close to maximum length. He has good head, good length of body, good depth. He could use just a little bit of width over the top of that loin, and has good width at the base of the table. He is molting just a little bit today, but otherwise he has more maturity, has more muscle than
are going to Lydia Zastra. Let's give those exhibitors a round of applause. Next up will be our Class 13A Senior Bucks Mini Rex breed, which we must have had a scratch because technically it should have been, if there's more than 4 of a breed, then we divide it into their own class, but it's still okay. We have Chloe Schermeyer with MR24B, Baby Road with BR22, Emerson Benningen with 23L1. Okay, so since we're doing the 3 mini Rexes separate as their breed, we're also going to split the mini Satins and the mini Lops from the Class 13B.
We have our Mini-Rex class, and I was talking to the exhibitors, and they all love their rabbits really well, and they're all really, really big ears. They are all overweight. The Mini-Rex senior bucks can weigh less than the Mini-Rex does, and they are actually all overweight for does too. So the maximum weight for a Mini-Rex buck is 4¼ pounds, and we have a 5-pound 6-ounce, 5-pound 4-ounce, and 4-pound 14-ounce rabbit up here. They all have really nice bone. They have very good fur, good head, good ears, and I'm impressed because sometimes when we get bigger Mini-Rex, we get really long ears, kind of snipey faces, but they have really good head, good ears. Just a little bit too much of them, but congratulations. I'm really glad that you love your rabbits and that you're not, I would rather have them be overweight than skinny and bony, so thank you.
Receiving, let's give those girls a round of applause. Receiving red ribbons, Chloe Schumacher, Baby Brooke, and Emerson Benningen. Next up will just our mini lot senior bucks. We have Faye Grove. Very Faye Grove with her mini lot BL22. And then Lydia Savastra with 2. So up the table now is our mini lots from that senior buck class. Next we'll bring up our mini saddles.
We have 3 mini senior bucks, and we're going to start with our third place buck right here. Our third place buck is working on getting in a new coat. So his color is a little bit rusty. So that just plays a little bit of a role in the decision, but he just doesn't have quite as much of the width of the muzzle. When you look at the rabbit in front of him, he has this more width in that muzzle. He also, his crown is just a little bit slipped, a little bit more than the second place. So his crown is just a little bit further back than the second place. He has very good depth of body. He has very good fullness over the top of that hind quarter, and he carries that fullness to the base of the table fairly decent. Our second place rabbit didn't win second place on manners. He has just a little bit of a better head. He's got a little bit of a better curvature to his skull. He has good width between his eyes, and he has a little bit better width at the base of that muzzle. He could use just a little bit more depth of body, but he has good fullness over the top of that wing, and he's just a little bit more narrow at the hindquarters. He's working on molds right now, so his color is a little bit off as well. Our first place buck has a good curvature to his head. He has decent width between his eyes. fairly big muzzle. He has a good crown. He has the best body type. He's nice and short. He's compact. He's got good width over the top of that. The hindquarters and the carries out to the base of the table very well. So nice set of mini hops.
Receiving champion mini lap, Lydia Zelstra, reserve going to Faye Road, and a blue ribbon for Lydia. Next up, we'll bring our mini satins. We have Emery Brugman. Let's give those kids a round of applause. Sorry. I'm running a quarter tank right now, so if you stay to the bucket catch, well, we have an 8. We got Emery Brugman with her mini satin. And then we have Ethan Hoogenborn with 2 mini satins.
have a very nice class of senior mini satin bucks here. They're all just a little bit different in type, but yet they're all very similar. Third place is gonna be our broken chocolate. He has a very nice coat, he has good head, good ear. He's just a little bit longer in overall body type, and he's just a little bit flatter. The things that they're similar in is the lack of width right at the top of the hindquarters. And then they kind of vary a little bit in their width at the base of the table. And I feel like he's the most hollow at the top of the hindquarter, and he doesn't have quite as much width at the base of the table that the other two have. Plus, he's just a little bit longer. He's just overall just a little bit more narrow and tight. Our second place is going to be our little black buck. He's more compact. He's just a little bit narrow in his shoulders, and he just doesn't want to set up really well today. I think if you would want to set up today, he'd look, I would like him better. He just kind of wants to pull. And when he wants to pull back, that makes him look not as full over the top of that hindquarter. And he is fairly full to the base of the table. I really like his fur. He has good density, and he has very good sheen to his coat today. And then our winner is actually going to be the white buck. Overall, the reason that he's winning is I feel like he just has a little bit more natural width. He has just a little bit more fullness over the top of those hindquarters. Although I do feel like the little black buck has a little bit more width at the base of the table. His coat he has definitely more density to his coat than the black buck does, but he's just not quite as finished. But for body type, he just wins on body type. So, very nice class. Congratulations to you all.
Receiving champion in that mini satin class, Ethan, and reserve going to Emery Rugby, and a blue ribbon for Ethan. Let's give those kids a round of applause. Next we'll have our senior bucks, Maya Schermeyer with 2, a Holland lot, and a Lyon head.
Going to your little Lyon head. He is got a good head, good ears. He's got a very He just doesn't have quite as much mass. He's just a little bit more bony, just a little bit rough in condition. Our first place dog has good head, good ears, good crown placement. He has nice short shoulders, good depth of body. He rounds well over the top of those hindquarters and carries that width to the base of the table very well. So this will be a reserve chicken and our champion. Congratulations.
Maya Schermeyer receiving champion and reserve. Next up will be our senior does over 6 months of age. We have 3 classes of senior does. Or no, my apologies. It's junior does 0 to 6 months. I also can't read anymore today. Class 14, junior does 0 to 6 months of age. We have Emery Ruggiman with a mini satin Zoom. Chloe Schermeyer with a mini Rex, FR25. Lauren D. Rowe with a mini Lot, SD5. And Lydia Zalstra with 2 mini Rexes, 1 and 2. Just a reminder that you will come to the table with your showmanship bracket at the end of the regular show. We'll have the showmanship and the different age divisions come up, and we'll talk with the judge, and selection will be made then. So just a reminder, parents can head back to the board if they're not a champion reserve from the fancy class, or the champion reserve from the fancy class. They can head back, and their showmanship bracket should stay here also.
progress here in the bottom of our chocolate and our broken. Her both overweight, and I talked to the exhibitor about that. The broken dough has good head, good ears. She has nice short shoulders. She's just a little bit narrow and overall tight, but she's just a little bit more compact than the chocolate. The chocolate's just a little bit longer and overall tight, but also just a little bit narrow. But this rabbit does look like it would be one that will go overweight just because of the body type. Our third place dough is going to be our black mini lab. She has good head, good width between the muzzle. She's got good development with her head coming along. She's just a little more slick in the crown. Good short shoulders. She's still developing her muscle. She just needs a little bit more muscle over the top of that hind quarter. And she does have good width at the base of the table. Our reserve champion, our second place, is going to be our mini Rexto, or black mini Rexto. She's just a little bit more narrow in the head, a little bit longer in the ears, but she has nice short shoulders. She has good depth of body. Just needs a little bit more width over the top of that table. And then she has good, nice, full hind quarters. And our winner of the class, our champion, is going to be our broken blue mini satin. She has a beautiful head, beautiful ears, nice, short, compact, very good depth, very nice fullness over the top of that loin periods as well as the base of the table. Very, very nice rabbit.
Let's give these exhibitors a round of applause. Receiving champion in that class, Emery Bregman, reserve went to Chloe Schermeyer. A blue ribbon for Lauren Negro, and 2 reds for Lydia Zauschel. Let's give those kids a round of applause. Next up will be our mini lab senior does. We have Maya Schermeyer with 2, Brandy Cruz, Lauren Negro, Emerson Benignan, Lydia Zalstra, and Faye Negro. And this is our senior does mini lots.
is nice and full. She has the black buttons over the top of the loin, and she's very nice and full on the hindquarters. I actually like her head very well too. Her crown has the correct crown placement. She does have fairly good, especially for her size. She's not big and bulky. She has a nice width between her eyes, and she has a very nice width at her muzzle is very nice. She's got very good hair condition too, considering that it's the summer. So when you're looking and you're like, some of those down the lane have a little bit of a bigger head, but they also have a bigger body, and their crowns aren't placed correctly. So this is going to be our champion. Congratulations. Our second place rabbit. Very close placing between the first and the second place rabbit. Two things that put this rabbit before the second place rabbit is there's just a little bit more width at the base of the muzzle. So if you look at them side by side, there's just a little bit more width at the base of the muzzle in the first place rabbit. There's also more fullness at the top of the loin. So if you take your hand and you run your hand over the rabbit, you're going to hands are going to kind of, when you have it set up, your hands are going to kind of catch right here on this rabbit. And they did it on that rabbit. And this one peaks just a little bit earlier, so he slides just a little bit. So very, very small differences, but they're the difference between the champion and the regular champion, but they're very nice rabbits. So congratulations. I also really, really like the third place rabbit. So honorable mention, plus, very, very nice rabbit, very balanced. She just doesn't have quite as much mass as the top two rabbits do, but she's very nice. She's got a very nice head. She is proportional. Her head is smaller than some of the others again, but she has a smaller body. So she's very balanced. Her crown is correctly placed. She has a very nice crown. She has nice shoulders. She has nice depth of body. She has good fullness over the top of the loin. She just is a little bit pinched at the base of the table on those hindquarters, but she just doesn't have quite as much of that mini lap mass that the top two did, but I think you said she's just 7 months old, so she's still growing, but she's a very nice rabbit. I like her very well. If you told me she was a junior and she did a junior class, she'd give me a run for the money. So thank you for being honest and putting her in the senior class. She's a very nice rabbit. Fourth place. We start to get into some structural issues with the rabbits on the line. Our fourth place rabbit just doesn't have quite as much width at the base of the muzzle or between the eyes. Crown is just set just a little bit with her back. A little bit longer on the shoulders. Still has good depth body. Still has good fullness over the top of that loin. Just is a little bit pinched at the base of the table. Same thing with her next buck right here. Just a little bit more refined in his face. A little bit narrower between the eyes and the muzzle. If you look, he just doesn't have quite as much muzzle here. Doesn't have quite as much space right here. And the crown is just a little bit slit. And for the mini locks with a lot of hooks and that kind of thing crown. Our little black buck, same thing. Just a little bit more inclined. Crown's a little bit slipping. Doesn't have quite as much width over the top of that loin and a little bit more narrow at the base of the table. And then our last place buck. Love the head on him. Love the width of the muzzle. Love the width between his eyes. A little bit slipped in that crown. But there's just too much of him. A little bit, almost a pound of your weight. So, very nice class of mini lap bucks. Congratulations to you all.
Let's give these exhibitors a round of applause. Receiving champion is Lyon Schurmeyer, reserve coach to Bradley Cruz. A blue ribbon for Lauren DeGroat, Emerson Benningen, Lydia Zalstra, and Baby Groat, and a red ribbon for Lyon Schurmeyer. Next up will be our class 15 senior does. Chloe Schurmeyer with 2, Emerson Benningen, and Lydia Zalstra. Receiving reserve champion is Chloe Schermeyer, and the weather ribbon for Chloe and Lydia. Let's give our Lyon County Fair Queen kind of blue ring a round of applause. We don't typically get a Lyon County Fair Queen, but they switched things up this year. So we're excited to have a queen all day.
In our senior doe class, our winner is going to be our little broken red senior doe. She has good head, good ears, she has good shoulders. She carries her depth over the top leg very nice. She used just a little bit more depth and width over the top of that hindquarters, but she has it and the loin, but she's got fairly decent hindquarters. She has nice fur, good texture, good density to her. And then we have two red ribbons, a little bit too much groceries today. Gonna start right down here. She's got a little bit longer ears, good head. She's nice short shoulders. She actually has very good depth of body, and she has nice fullness over the top loin as well, and she carries that to the table very well. I think we shared that she's a mom, so she looks like she'd be a very nice mom. And then the little left over here, just a little bit more thinner for the face. Could use a little bit more width. She's got good shoulders. She's a little bit more narrow throughout her body, and she's got a little bit more narrowness at the top of that hindquarter. And it carries that down to the base of the table as well. But she has good density, good texture for her fur as well. So congratulations, Grace.
sure you're ready to have that rabbit come up for the overall fancy class. So after this class is judged, in our fancy for class 12, we'll be bringing back Maya Schurmeyer. In our senior bucks, 13B, we'll be bringing back Maya Schurmeyer. In our class 14 senior middle, we'll be bringing back Henry Rugman. In our class 15 mini block senior middles, Maya Schurmeyer. In class 15 senior middles, Chloe Schurmeyer. And then whichever is the champion in this class. Oh, and then also our mini loud senior box will be Lydia, and our mini stack will be Ethan. I know a couple of you haven't been able to make it over to the showmanship table, no problem, we'll just catch up with those at the end of the overall rabbits, and then we'll do our showmanship.
It's our final senior class, or senior doe class today. We're going to start with our first place. Senior doe is going to be our white Canadian satin shoulders. She's got nice fullness over the top of the line. I would like her to have a little bit more width over that top of the line. I was talking to the 4-H'er and I said, I wish that I could combine features of these two rabbits just to make one really nice rabbit. I like the width over the top of the line on the second place rabbit better. I actually do like the finish on the second place rabbit better. But the first place rabbit is just a little bit more balanced. It has a much better width at the base of the table than our second place rabbit. Second place rabbit does have good head, good ears. Just a little bit more narrow, a little longer in the shoulder. As I said, very nice width and fullness over the top of that line. Just really lax in the hindquarters at the base of the table. Our third place Lyon head. Very good, nice compact body. I like the body type on it, just not quite as much for condition. Actually considering flip-flopping those two, just the fur's just a little bit rough. Wool is just not quite as groomed as what I would like it to be. So that's kind of the deciding factor for me between the second and third. And then our Rex here, good head, good ears, just a little bit longer in overall body type, just a little more narrow throat. Wish we had a little bit more width on the top of the line. Does have really good width at the base of the table and has very nice color to her. And then our last place, mini satin. Just with blues are really hard because toenails need to be dark color. And our mini satin doe has white toenails, so that's a disqualification, so it'll be a red ribbon.
Receiving champion in that class, Ethan Wunderhorn, reserve also going to Ethan. A blue for Malia Wunder, Aubrey Wunder, and a red for Lauren DeGroot. Next, we'll bring back our champions from each of the classes from Fancy. Maya Schermeyer, if you want to bring back the one that's in the cage over here in this first box. I think Maya's going to have to find a couple of crowns. I need Lydia with your H177 champion. So basically those four need to come here. We're going to make our selection for overall fancy champion. If you received second in your class, be ready because I'll tell you if we need that reserve rabbit to come up, okay? So if you received a lavender ribbon in the fancy classes, you're on deck. So just be ready and we'll let you know if you need to come up. So this is for overall champion, fancy, and reserve. So the fancy ones.
So this was a hard decision. You guys have some very nice four-class fancy rabbits here today. I just want to say congratulations to all the exhibitors up here. It comes down actually, to be completely honest, it's between 3 does, 2 mini satins, and a mini lap, and there's just some really fine differences that I see between them. Somebody else may very well place these differently than I'm going to place those, and I understand that the reserve and class will come up after I choose the champion, so we'll look at that one too. But our champion today is going to be our champion right here. Broke the mini set. Congratulations.
We'll need the reserve to come up from that class. Chloe, you need rabbit. Your mini rex at March. So we're bringing up the reserve from that class. Let's give Emery Bruggeman a big round of applause for the champion fancy rabbit. We're bringing back the reserve from that class for overall reserve champion fancy rabbit.
We did have a very nice second place in that class as well. But our reserve champion today is actually going to be our mini lap. Congratulations.
So now we're going to do our overall champion rabbit. We'll bring back our commercial Ethan Hugenborn and our reserve Chloe Schermeyer from class 10. I have money up here yet, I'm not sure who's in this. we do showmanship, we're gonna just have the kids come up to the table, because some of the rabbits are getting a little overheated in here, just like me. So just leave your rabbits in the cages, and we'll just have the kids come up, because he's already judged you with the rabbits. Sound like a plan? So some of you I told you wrong. And don't forget me.
So I want to say thank you for having me come out and judge today. And it's very warm, so I apologize. Hopefully move along quickly, but I just want to make sure that we check rabbits for disqualifications and things like that. But I hope you have a great rest of the fair. Congratulations to all the racers. You've done an excellent job, and Sandy's going to talk about showmanship here next. So without further ado, our overall champion is going to be the mini set. And our reserve champion is going to be the mini top.
Let's give our judge a big round of applause for working through our rabbits all day. Thank you, Naomi, for coming out to Lyon County. And let's give our exhibitors all a big round of applause. And we will bring up our showmanship kiddos. You don't have to bring your rabbits up, just yourselves. So we'll bring up let's bring up our senior exhibitors. We have Audrey Wunder, Lydia Zalstra, and Dylan Mulder.
Hey guys, my name is Stephen Rackett. I was your showmanship judge today, coming from Sioux City, Iowa. I had a great time getting to know all the kids, getting to learn a little bit about their rabbits, and we have three very great senior exhibitors up here. Very good job. Very outstanding scores. They knew their animals, they knew their stuff. I'm going to shake the hand of the brand and then their reserve. And now we have our intermediates showing up here.
Let's give our senior showman a round of applause, receiving champion Lydia Zalstra and reserve Dylan Mulder. Next, we'll bring up our intermediate class. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. We've got Maya Schurmeyer, Lauren DeGrove, Bailey Grove, Emerson Benan, Ethan Hogendorf, and Cameron Mulder.
Okay, so your intermediate showing, there's a lot more of them here, and they did very well. The top three actually were very close, and scored very high. Almost all of the top three scores are in the 90s, and most of them all scored in the 70s, so very good scores. They all know their animals very well. I'm not going to keep talking. I'll shake the hand of your brand and then your reserve and show announcements.
Next up, we'll bring our junior class of 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We have Emery Rugman, Chloe Schurmeyer, Brantley Cruz, Malia Booner, and Madeline Booner. Madeline Booner. Sorry. Wait.
Okay, so again, very nice junior showing they do their stuff. They came up and proved me wrong for saying juniors don't know as much as the rest. These exhibitors did a great job. I don't want to keep talking, I'm going to just kind of shake the hand of your grand reserve. Again, these juniors did a great job.
Thank you to Zayden for judging our showmanship throughout the day. That completes our rabbit show. If you want, we can get one more big round of applause. Also, the newspaper needs photos of our champion and reserve fancy, our champion and reserve crossbred, our champion and reserve commercial, and one of them will be our overall. So the newspaper would like to get photos